Now, today I wanted to get you on the show because we are talking all about businesses that I didn't even know ran. I know that the alpaca
Yeah.
experience is something that my parents did. First off, my dad wanted me to ask you. He just sent me a picture of him and his the alpaca he was walking. How Biscuit is getting along. He's
Yeah.
listening to the interview, so he's very wants to know how he is.
Biscuit is absolutely fine and eating lots of summer grass at the moment, getting a little bit fat.
Oh, really? Oh. Now, Charlotte, you've been looking after alpacas for 9 years. Is that right?
That's right, yes.
And it's it was quite an unusual thing, I would say, for people to
Yeah.
do. So how did you become involved in this? What made you want to start looking after them and making a business out of it?
Well, we were fortunate enough to have a little bit of land, and we were
Hmm.
trying to think what can we do with the land that's sustainable, environmentally friendly, good for the
Mm.
children. And I'm not from a farming background, but that makes me a little bit soft. I don't want to obviously send any animals off for slaughter or
No, no, I know.
do anything cruel to get a product. So it was a lovely ethical way of keeping animals and working the land and having a business and actually having animals as part of our family. So
It's amazing, and it is
that's what brought us into it.
a fibre producing farm, isn't it? But it's
That's right.
sort of recent. Well, I'm not sure. It was kind of more after that you sort of went into the alpaca experiences, isn't it?
That's right. So we were lucky that we chose an animal that later became popular, I should say, with the public, and people actually wanted to come and visit them. So when we started off, we'd be going to market selling alpaca fibre. People wouldn't know what it was. I
Mm.
think people would think perhaps they were llamas and they didn't really know about what alpacas were. Whereas now they've become very much more prominent in the media and people are seeking out alpaca products, and it's been fantastic for business. And they also have the cute factor. So that
Oh,
has also increased people wanting to come and visit. And
be
so
part
yeah,
of them.
it's been great. Yeah.
It's amazing because I don't know a lot about the fibre either. I remember you did say to me that
Yeah,
it was as soft as cashmere and 5 times warmer than lamb's wool. So
that's
very, very
right.
warm.
Yes, so the reason why alpaca is absolutely unique is because it's a hollow fibre. So
Mm.
these animals come from high altitude in the Andes, and the temperature can drop as low as minus 20 degrees at night, but it can go up to over 30 degrees in the day. So these are big animals. They can't hide down a den
Mm.
or escape from the elements. So they have to have an incredible fibre that thermoregulates, and the way they do that is by it being hollow. So this is fantastic for us if we want to wear their fibre, because it keeps us warm in the winter and cool in the summer. And they need us to shear them because they've been bred to require shearing. So that means that it's a mutually beneficial relationship that we have with them.
And when some people say about wool, I think the first impression if someone was hearing that, they would think, oh gosh, is it scratchy? Because
Yeah,
sometimes you can have that
exactly.
material where you think, oh, I don't really, it's just going to
Yeah.
be itchy. It's
So
not
the
like that, is it?
No, so it's actually a hair, not a wool. So if you were to look at it under a microscope,
Mm.
the shaft of the fibre is actually smooth, whereas lamb's wool has scales. And so that makes it feel very different. And it also doesn't have lanolin. So the people with allergies to lanolin who can't wear lamb's wool can
Okay, what
often
is
find they can wear alpaca.
lanolin? What is that?
So lanolin's an oil that coats lamb's wool. So if you feel, I don't know if you've ever felt lamb's wool, it can feel greasy on your fingers.
Definitely.
So that is required by sheep to keep the rain off of them. It kind of coats the wool, but alpacas don't need that because they have this hollow fibre that actually wicks moisture away from them. So it's um, water repellent naturally without needing the oils.
Okay. So
So
it's
it
good. It's
works in a different
hypoallergenic,
way.
which is really, really beneficial for people who have
Yeah,
allergies.
exactly.
And what made you how did you know? When you obviously you had the fibre producing farm and you were going out and selling the fibre. How did you
Yeah.
know that the alpaca experiences are what people kind of wanted? How did you know, oh, we
Yeah.
might try it?
Well, people were asking. So I wasn't very confident to begin with, thinking, oh, is this what we're here to do? So
Yes.
we don't. It's not a tourist attraction. It's just something that people can come privately and come and visit our farm and get to know the animals. And, I love seeing people's faces. They kind of come in to the farm thinking, what are these animals like? And I love seeing their faces change as they relax around them and kind of warm towards them. And it's really, it's really rewarding.
Well, we will talk a little bit about how they make people feel a bit later on. But I mean, I saw some of the pictures from my parents when they went on this experience.
Yeah.
So do you feed them on the experience or...
Yeah, I mean, our alpacas love their treats. So,
yes, don't we all?
Give them a few. Yeah, so they do, we have to make sure that the alpacas enjoy having visitors and enjoy walking. So there is obviously food involved.
Okay.
So they do quite enjoy having different interactions with people, and that's what it's all about. I think when people come, because obviously some people don't have access to animals, they don't have pets, they might live in an urban setting. So coming out to the countryside and actually having hands-on experiences with animals can be, just a lovely thing to do.
And you can walk the alpacas, can't you, as well?
That's right. So they're not bred for walking. Llamas are bred to work with people and carry things and walk. But alpacas have got this incredible chilled out personality, and they'll just kind of go along with it.
Okay.
So as long as there's a bit of food involved, they'll walk at their own pace. You might have to stop whilst they have a little graze, or they might go in the opposite direction that you want. But it's all about being with them and going at their pace. And I think that's lovely to just slow down a bit.
It's nice to be a bit in somewhere a bit more zenful, I guess, a bit more calming.
Exactly. And they are very calming animals, and I think this is one of the things that's so addictive about them. So they are prey animals, which means that around them you have to be quite calm.
Right.
So like if you have a cat or a dog, you kind of play with them. That kind of is a different way of being around predators. But if you're with prey animals, it's very calming. It's mutually calming, I guess.
Yes, absolutely.
So they're quite therapeutic animals.
I did see, and I remember I spoke to you as well, that their temperament, they are very calming, but they don't it's not like having like a little puppy, is it? They don't want to be cuddled, really.
That's right. Yeah. You have to kind of, you have to appreciate their fibre, I suppose, from a distance when it's on them, but then you can buy alpaca products that you can wrap around you. You can buy your alpaca scarf. But it's probably on a deeper level that you interact with them rather than having a quick hug.
Yes,
throwing your arms around them.
Yes.
So
they like to be sort of left alone, not like pushed around and like sort of.
Well, they're very inquisitive. They'll come right up to you.
Okay.
But some of them will be quite happy to let you stroke them on their necks. And
well, I have got a picture my dad decided to send to me before we did the interview. He was like, please make sure you ask how Biscuit is, and sent a picture of him with his arm around him. They had a wonderful time, as I'm sure many people will go to after this interview. But there are two types of alpacas, aren't there, Charlotte? And you have the rare breed of Surrey. How do I say that?
Surreys. Yeah. That's right. Yes. So less than 6% of alpacas are Surrey alpacas. Most alpacas that you see perhaps pictures of are the fluffy ones. We do have those as well. Those are called Wakaya alpacas. Now, I can boast slightly about the type of alpaca that we breed. So these were the alpacas that were bred by the ancient Incans purely for royalty to wear. So the royalty would wear them and be known as wearing the fibre of the gods, because the shine and the luster of a Surrey fibre, because it is such a smooth fibre, actually makes them shine in the sunlight like gods. So you can imagine the royalty walking around in their Surrey robes.
Yes.
And unfortunately, the commoners would have to wear Wakaya alpacas, or they would be killed for wearing Surrey. So this is the type that we breed, but it is a lot harder to process because it is such a fine and smooth fibre. But we do sometimes actually mix the two fibres for some of our products, but it drapes, so the Surrey drapes. The animals do look quite different. I find them very characterful. They have these long locks, and you don't have to shear these ones every year. And when you have them in long fibre, their fleeces are very long. When they're running in the sunlight, it just looks incredible, the way that it catches the sun. But the Wakayas are beautiful in their own right. They're very soft. And they're very fluffy and obviously very cute.
So this is a very royal sort of fibre, really.
Yeah, so the Surrey is,
The Surrey
I
is
like to think of it as that.
Yes, absolutely. Why not just say it? So the alpaca.
And, and it's lovely seeing how visitors tend to kind of go for one type or the other. They come, I identify with this one or this one, and the same with all their different personalities, because they're each very individual. All the characters really come out on these visits, and it's fun seeing which people bond with which alpacas. So.
It's nice to see the personalities come out in animals, because sometimes you don't really get that, do you? Sometimes they're very removed from making that personal connection. But from the pictures I saw, it's actually quite a bonding experience, I can imagine, as well.
It is, yeah. And they're very keen on their herd hierarchy. So they have like their best friends within their herds. They have fallouts. They have like their frenemies. So they do. It's great watching their dynamics. You don't even have to be part of it. You can just stand back and watch, and it's just fascinating.
Oh, sounds lovely. And I wanted to ask, how do the alpacas, with all, I mean, obviously their fur that you said, I remember you did touch on it at the beginning, originally they get really cold and they can survive because obviously they've got their fur. What happens like last week when it was absolutely boiling and they haven't been like their fur hasn't been shaved? What happens?
Well, we do shear them every year. The Surreys you can shear every other year, but it does thermoregulate. So if they haven't been shorn and it's very hot, there is a certain amount of cooling within the fibre. However, in the Andes, it will drop down at night. So they're not subject to the extreme temperature 24 hours a day like we were last week. So
absolutely.
What we would then do is we'd spray them down, and that's something the visitors love doing. They love hosing them down, and you can't stop the visitors. You can't get the hose pipe back from them sometimes, but they love having their bellies and their legs hosed down with some water. And so you do that during the very hot months, but obviously most of them have been shorn by the time it gets very hot.
Yes, exactly.
So it's not such a problem.
And I guess this environment here is quite good for them because we don't live in a particularly hot country anyway. So I guess this environment they sort of adapt to very nicely.
They're absolutely fine with our temperatures. The only thing they don't particularly like is our wet, constant wet.
None of us like that,
climate.
Do we? No.
So that is something we have to manage when we look after them, because you have to look after their feet. That you have to make sure they do have access to shelter if it's raining for days on end. And they also don't like the kind of parasites that we have in our soil, which come as a result of the wet weather, because they have only been in the UK for about 20 years, so
really?
They haven't adapted. Yeah, they haven't adapted to all our parasites and things, and we're still learning about them. So even the vets are having to kind of learn as we go, and products aren't licensed for them yet. So it's all a learning curve.
And Charlotte, I just really wanted to ask. I was really interested because the alpaca is from the camel family, isn't it?
That's right. Yes.
But what's the difference between a llama, alpaca, and a camel?
Okay.
Sorry, I know it's a big question. I just didn't really know what the difference.
It's a good question because it's the one that everyone does want to know. So, alpacas are domesticated from a wild camelid called the vicuna, which is still living in the wild in South America today. And the vicuna has another wild camel cousin called the guanaco, and that was domesticated into the llama. So these were one of the earliest domesticated animals about 6,000 years ago by the Incas. And the llamas are much bigger, so they were domesticated to carry things. So they were like your pack animal, your donkey, to carry things and work with people.
Right.
And the vicuna was domesticated into the alpaca to farm their fleece. So they're meant to be standing and grazing all day long, looking out for predators, whereas the llamas would be working with the people.
Right, that's why the llamas carry things.
Exactly.
Right. Yes. Okay, that makes more sense.
And the alpacas can only carry their fleece. That's all that their backs can support.
Really?
Because they have to carry several kilos of fleece, depending on the quality of your alpaca.
Wow. Okay, so now really quickly, on businesses now, since COVID-19, we won't touch on it too much. How have things been for you after lockdown? Because some small businesses really struggled throughout the lockdown and, not being any support. How's life been for you?
So it was difficult because obviously our overheads continued through lockdown, but then everybody wants to come out of lockdown and come somewhere safe where they can socially distance and outdoors. So we've been very busy. and we don't work. We don't overwork our animals. We don't want to have too many visitors because it wouldn't be something the alpacas would then want to engage with. So, so it's been a bit of a juggling act trying to fit in the right number of visitors. But it's been a lovely therapeutic thing for people to do. I've had lots of people say this is the first time they've come out of the city or the first time they've even been out since lockdown. And it's a nice, safe environment. And as I say, it's very good for health and well-being.
Yes,
just being around these calming animals.
And like you said, you can do the socially distancing, which is quite well, and you're outside as well, which is which is really good for people. We disinfect the halters, so we're not touching anything. We don't have to kind of, and people actually come preparing their own vegetables, so there's no contact. It's quite interesting what some people bring. But so it's a lovely, safe way to enjoy the outdoors.
Enjoy the outdoors and have family time, because people do come in small family groups as well sometimes.
And you did say earlier, because I know that you are all about, and you do mention quite a lot about having ethical treatment for animals, and
absolutely,
it's really important to you that the animals aren't overworked. So just for some people who might listening, they are only limited, aren't there, with how many sort of
That's right. And we'll only walk the boys, so the boys get used to being walked. They're trained regularly, and they enjoy it, and they choose to come in and meet the visitors, so that I don't feel they can choose whether to and come and have a walk or not. So if they don't want to come, they won't come.
Okay.
But the mothers and the babies, it's a little bit gender based. The female don't walk because they're busy with the child rearing.
Oh. Now, one more thing that I wanted to touch on is that you do for people who can't come down to you and can't leave their homes. You do something which is really unusual, which when I read it, I thought, wow, that is not something I've ever heard about before. But you also offer alpaca fixes and alpaca adoption. So you also do a video conference calls for people to get involved, don't you? Hello? Oh, we've lost her there. We've lost her. Bear with me 1 second. Oh, Charlotte, are you there?
Hello.
Hello. Yes, reconnected.
Can you hear me? Yes, I am. Great. Hi, can you hear me now?
Yes. Sorry about that. So, no, did you hear what I last said?
So, yes. So we were saying about the conference calls. So it's lovely when people have not been able to get in touch, perhaps with people who are shielding. They can have like a virtual tour of the farm. And also when people are perhaps having business meetings, it's something a little bit different at the end of the meeting. Sometimes they'll put us on and have a little tour after they've discussed all their boring business matters. So it's another thing we can do. And then people can also adopt some of our alpacas. We have adoption packs with information about the alpacas, photos, fleece samples, a little cuddly toy, a little free gift, and then updates as well. So, there are other ways to get fixes if you can't come down and see us in person.
So there's lots of ways that people can get involved, even if people can't leave their homes and are shielding. So you do have an Instagram page, Charlotte, you can give out to people, and how people
That's can get right, involved? So Facebook and Instagram, we're Cadbury Alpacas, as in the chocolates. And then we have a website where we sell all the products that we make from their fleece. So that's alpacaemporium.co.uk.
Amazing. Charlotte, it sounds like an amazing experience. I will definitely be down there to do and walk the alpacas, because I can't wait to give them like a little walk. And it seems very good. I like being around, I love animal encounters. It's been something that I've always loved, and especially getting to know animals and feeling being around animals that are quite calm.
Exactly, yeah.
So it's really, really exciting. So, Charlotte, thank you so much. I wish you all the best. I'm sure today you'll be out with the alpacas.
Yeah. And I'll say hello to Biscuit from
my dad. Yes, I will. So give him a cuddle for Biscuit. Okay, thank you so much, Charlotte.
Thank you very much.
Take care. Bye-bye. And that was all about alpacas. If you missed any of that interview,